How further ahead are you guys as a program at this point, as far as your tenure goes?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this group. We have had an off season this year, which is very beneficial when you're trying to add new players into the mix. Last year, everything, once we got the group assembled, was all about individual work. It was all about small groups with your roommate. We just weren't taking any chances, as all schools were around the country, and with a completely new team, that set us back early in the process. One thing I was really proud of last year's group is how they kept fighting through adversity, especially at the end of the year when COVID affected our whole team and they shut our group down for 3 weeks where really we couldn't even be in the gym. So I did appreciate everything about that group and the way we finished that season. I think it was great for the returning core that we have to have some success in the system and win a couple of those games excuse me, at the end of the year last year. This season, I've loved the mentality of our team, the way that they have approached the day-to-day workouts coming in. You only have to tell them things once, and we're so much further ahead. I guess to answer your question in a roundabout way, Robin, we're so much further ahead right now than we were a year ago because we've had an off season. We've been able to work a lot more on fundamentals. We've been able to get our system in place, so much better than we were able to a year ago. So I feel good about our group going in to our first official workout. We've had 4 hours a week, and I think we've maximized what we've been able to do in that amount of time. But, the important thing now, and our biggest thing that I'm really trying to get our guys and stress to our guys is the urgency and the passion that they have to play with on every possession if you're going to win consistently in this league.
Besides what you just said, what are you maybe working on in practice, focusing on in practice that maybe you couldn't last year?
Really pivoting, two-hand passing, just all the little things. When you only have a short amount of time to implement the system, you just really go right into the meat of what you're trying to do on both ends of the ball. Right now, I've been really happy with Coach Nate, with Coach Gates, in the player development stuff that we were doing going all the way back to the summer. We'll be able to get back to some of that with more individual work now that we have more time. You'd be amazed how quickly 4 hours goes, and you want to stay out there, but you understand the rules that are in place, and you only have so much time that you're able to implement what you can in that amount of time. But the individual stuff that Coach Gates, Coach Nate, myself have done, I've been really pleased with, and hopefully all that stuff carries over with the little things that we're trying to do and be better at this season.
You've returned a lot of experience from last year, but also added 9 newcomers. How has that meshing gone, both on the court and the chemistry off?
Yeah, it is a group in the early stages that I feel has very good chemistry together. How that continues to carry over once we start playing games, you don't know yet. But everything that we've been doing, I've been really pleased with the chemistry of this team. It's so obviously very important with everything you've got going to be tied together. My single hardest job this year is going to be establishing a rotation. We've got a lot of players that are capable of playing, and all that will be determined in the next 42 days, 30 days of practice. The 2 exhibition games that we have against Peru State and against Colorado, which will both be great for our group, and then getting ready to play on November 8th against Western Illinois. So, this will all be determined, but we've got a lot of guys that are capable of being on the floor. It's going to be about going out there, starring in your role, accepting your role, and going out there and doing it as a team.
Can you describe the level of play you've seen out of Bryce McGowan's in your workout so far?
Yeah, Bryce is as talented a kid as I've had an opportunity to coach. He is so gifted athletically. He's smooth, shoots it effortlessly, but he's a freshman. And same thing with Wilhelm. Both those guys, when you come in at a young age, there is a huge learning curve when you jump from level that they were playing at to going into the Big Ten and having to play against the most physical players on a nightly basis. The best player in the country, the number 1 player, will have a big adjustment. That's just the way it works. It's reality of this business. So as talented as Bryce is, we have to have a level of patience as well, just because of the learning curve that he has. But as far as an excitement level and a talent, I haven't been around many that have the physical gifts that he has. Now it's about getting him to understand every possession that he has to play has got to be full-out effort, all of our guys. But yeah, Bryce, I've been really pleased, and just you guys will see it. He's a world-class kid, one of the nicest kids that I've been around. So yeah, he's going to be a good one.
How have you seen Alonzo fit in? Some guys were kind of talking him up last week.
Yeah, Alonzo, we were very fortunate to get Alonzo late in the game, especially when Delano decided to keep his name in the draft. It was imperative that we added depth to our back court, and to get a player of Alonzo's caliber that late in the game, we feel very fortunate. A kid that has put up big numbers. His big thing that he's talked about is winning. They didn't have a lot of success a year ago, similar to our guys, and the commitment that takes on a daily basis. The buy-in you have to have, not only on days you feel good, but on days you got to fight through, fight through some things. But Alonzo is perfect for our system because of his ability to get downhill and get into the paint. The thing I've loved about him is his passing ability. If we space the floor properly, he's going to find the right guy out there on the floor. Now, what we're stressing is simple plays. He's so gifted and talented in getting into the gaps and into the paint. Sometimes we just have to make the simple play, the right play. And that's been a big emphasis. But, as far as Alonzo, his motor, defensively, I've been, very happy with the amount of pressure that he's able to apply on the ball. Just a really complete player.
Alonzo has kind of a unique energy about him, outgoing personality. I would say even at meeting day, probably, he was taking over Instagram and stuff like that. That do for his role, and he's going to be a primary leader for this team.
Yeah, anytime you're going to have the ball in your hands as much as Alonzo is, you have to have leadership skills and leadership ability. And Alonzo has shown that. He's got a great voice. He is energetic every time he steps on the floor, bringing our group together. Trey has really stepped up. I've been really pleased with Trey, with his voice. So it's important, especially with your guards and your older players. As Alonzo with his last year, Trey as a senior. So anytime you can have the guys or your playmakers, ball handlers, it's important to be able to have leadership qualities, and I've really seen that out of Alonzo and Trey.
You have a lot of guards on your roster. How many of those guys are you comfortable with running that pick and roll?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're still figuring out exactly what it is with roles. I've always been a multi-handler guy, coach, and when you have multiple players that can get into the paint and make plays, I think it makes you much more difficult to guard. I thought one thing we really improved on last year is playing through our big. Derek Walker showed a great ability. He had 8 assists in our last game to make plays from the elbow, cutting off of him. So it's not only about the ball screens, it's about hitting the big and making the right play and reading the defense correctly. And we're much further ahead this year than we were last year at this time.
Between the additions and a full season of Derek and Eduardo, do you feel like the pick and roll can be a more effective part of your offense this season?
Yeah, and then you throw Wilhelm into the mix as well as a guy that can play in smaller lineups that can pick and pop and spread the defense out and take the bigs away from the basket. Take Kofi out of the lane, try to create more driving lanes. There's so many bigs in this league. If you can get them out of the paint and create driving lanes, that's going to open things up for everybody. We do have 3 guys, 2 that have played in the system. I love the way Eduardo finished our season last year. And Derek, once he got over his illness after missing the first season with a suspension, I thought he finished out the year really well, understanding what we needed out of him. And then you add a really dynamic piece in Wilhelm that has such a unique skill set. I really like where we are at that position.
Fred, of the returning players, who do you expect to take the biggest leap in their game this season?
Well, it's a good question. I hope all of them do. And you have to have that, again, to have consistency and success in this league. A lot of the players that were in the draft, unfortunately for us, came back to their teams. So, in order for us to make a jump in the standings, we're going to have improvement from everybody. And I've seen that. I've seen the offseason that we've had. Guys want to win. There's no doubt about that. What we experienced the last couple of years, really last year, I guess, with the returning guys, they want to make a big jump and accomplish something that's never been done with Nebraska basketball before.
You think your perimeter shooting is where it needs to be to fully run your system?
I think as far as our upgrades this year, perimeter shooting, I think, is the biggest area of improvement with our group. And we should have guys that can get into the paint and play make. And when you have to stay closer to the shooters and the floor spacers, it's going to open up things for everybody. Like I talked about Wilhelm in smaller lineups, Casey is as good a shooter as I've certainly coached at any level. When he misses, you're absolutely shocked that thing doesn't go in. Alonzo certainly can make shots. C.J. Wilcher was a huge addition for us in his shooting. Obviously returners from last year, Kobe, Trey shot a nice percentage from the three-point line. And then you add other shooters in Bryce, as well as Keon Edwards, who can make shots. So we've really upgraded our shooting. I think we've upgraded our depth, gotten better with our athleticism and our size. So really across the board, from an offensive standpoint, I think we've made big upgrades with our roster.
Shooting's always been a focus in your system. And so far here, you guys haven't had the best shooting numbers. When it doesn't work for guys coming from high school to college from the three-point line, in your experience, why doesn't it work?
Well, I think a big thing is the size and athleticism that you're playing against. We had the number one three-point shooting team in the country in the NCAA tournament. We played Kentucky, and with their length and athleticism, when they had Anthony Davis and Kid Gilchrist and Terrence Jones in that group, we shot 2 for 26 because of the length and athleticism. So when you make that big a jump, the speed, the quickness, you have to get your shot off quicker. So sometimes it doesn't translate right away. But if you can space the floor, it makes life easier. Our shot profile last year, 83% of our shots were restricted area and three-pointers. It's where you want it. We just got to make them. We got to make a higher percentage, both at the rim and from behind the line. And we feel that we have addressed some of those issues with the makeup of our group.
How much of a difference has it had, just having some returners back that have been through it? For you?
Yeah, very, very important. It's our first time really where we've had some continuity in going into year 3 now. And it's important to have some guys that can help the young players along, that can help Bryce, understand what this league is all about, to help Wilhelm what it's all about. Casey coming from junior college, to help him understand the urgency. So it is. Anytime you can have some continuity, it does make things a lot easier.
You guys don't have a ton of those like wing defender type bodies on your team. How many of the guards do you think you're comfortable with guarding up a position?
Yeah, that's a great question. It starts with Trey. Trey gives us that ability to play a superstar. The example, guarding Io in that last possession last year, where I thought he did a great job staying in front. Unfortunately, they called a foul, but Trey can guard those really good wing players one-on-one. I think Keon Edwards is another guy that's got great size and in ability to move his feet at that position as well. So I'd say those two primarily, as far as having to guard and shut down a really good player. And then we're going to have smart positional defenders and be in the right spots, which was a big point of emphasis in the workout today after a scrimmage that we had last Friday as far as cleaning things up. Got a ways to go, as all teams do at this stage of the game, but we'll get there.
What about Corn McPherson? He's kind of got one of those bigger guard type bodies. People have talked about his defense so far.
Yeah, it's who he is. Probably more at the point. As far as what he can do, but he does have a big, strong physical body and a defensive mentality.
I know you have to speak generally about recruiting, but could you speak to the momentum as, big weekends are ahead and just, I guess, with fans back in the stands, even at football, and the people seeing sort of how the fan base reacts to Husker athletics, how that can help?
Yeah, it's so important to get these kids on campus, and we feel great what we accomplished through Zoom calls, and now that we're able to get these kids back on campus, even when they were here before football weekends, just to see the facilities that we have and to see the fan support that we have, the resources that we have to put into the student athletes. But to experience Memorial Stadium with 93,000 in there, we do have some big weekends coming up. It's such a great recruiting tool to have for these kids, is to come play in front of what I think are the most supportive, best fans in the country. How patient they've been, understanding, where we took over, and being supportive, not an empty seat in the house that first year. There wouldn't have been one last year. The excitement of having our fans to be able to see opening night on Friday. We expect an unbelievable crowd that night, and G. Herbo, one of my personal favorites, is coming in on Friday night as well. But yeah, it's an exciting time. It should be a great weekend.
Fred, I wanted to ask you about Bryce. With him coming in as like the highest ranked recruit in Nebraska history, and he's done a TV commercial already. Are you going to be keeping tabs, or what's your thoughts on how he's going to handle this as far as just, having all this on him?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. Bryce and Trey, they were blessed with two of the best parents you can be around. The example that they set, these are two of the most polite young men that you'll ever be around. So, it starts with the parents, with Bobby and with Pam. They're just phenomenal people, and they did a great job early in their lives of teaching them, the right way to grow up. And, I'm not worried about that because of the way that they were raised. You've got two humble kids, they're here. Bryce can look up to Trey, who's, like I said, been phenomenal as far as taking a huge leap in his leadership skills. And he's got good people around him to help him through and navigate through the ups and downs that you go through as a young player. And, you're going to go through it. You always go through it. It's easy to play when things are going well, but when you have to be there for a player is when they're going through the tough times. And we feel very good about our staff and players that can help our young guys especially navigate through those difficult situations.
You guys healthy going to the start practices?
We're good to go. We're healthy going in. We should have everybody back.
Is Ed back? I know he was sick on.
Yeah, Eduardo was back at practice today. Yep.
What do you hope that these high school kids coming in this weekend, what do you hope they see and get out of this experience?
Well, I think the biggest thing anytime we have recruits on campus is just to see the support that they will have as a student athlete at Nebraska. And it's two of the biggest things that we talk about that are so important for these young kids. One are the facilities, and I'm not sure there's better facilities, especially when the new project is completed, and also the fan base. And you'll see that across, we talk about it, it's not just football, basketball, it's all sports. And, if you have that support, you have that fan base that's there for you, through good times and bad, it really shows well when you have these kids on campus. So, that's our big thing this weekend, show the facilities, show the support that they will have as a student athlete at Nebraska.
These super highly rated kids, Bryce can probably relate to those guys better than most guys. What role does he play in that process?
Yeah, it is. Bryce, put us in a great position to get a 5-star athlete. And, I think your players are your biggest sellers of your program. How are they treated? How's the player development program? What's the style of play like? And a lot of programs, a lot of coaches, as you go through the recruiting process, they may tell you something, well, this is how we're going to do things moving forward. Well, you kind of are who you are. And I think our players can talk about that. I think it was a big thing that Trey was able to talk to Bryce about through the recruiting process when he opened it up, is how he was treated and how he got better as a player. So, it is. Your athletes are the ones that are selling it, and hopefully our guys do a great job with that.
All right, guys, thank you. We also have some players outside in the hallway as well. Take care.
Friday at 6 p.m., Michigan State on Sunday at 3 p.m., and both are on BTN. Coach, if you'll start us off with a statement, please.
This is a big week. We have the Hall of Fame induction for Jordan. Coach Pettit, so that's be a little side deal going on. I think that's Friday, so make it a special weekend. And I think there's a couple teams that are coming back. B. Ryan will have all the stats on that, who's coming back, what years. So it's a great weekend to celebrate volleyball here in Nebraska. We have two great teams coming in Michigan and Michigan State. And life in the Big Ten and volleyball right now is not real easy for anybody. And so it makes it exciting, makes it good for you guys to write stories, and makes it challenging for coaches and teams to try to find ways to get wins. So our goal this week is to try to go from good to great. And we're trying to get there. We've got a ways to go.
Questions for Coach?
A couple times last week, some of the players mentioned that they had players only come to Jesus talk amongst themselves, not taking anything for granted. Have you noticed anything different about their kind of attitude as they approach practice or matches?
They've trained well every day this year. They've trained hard. The only thing I notice is that they are holding each other a little more accountable for effort plays or mental letdown plays that normally I would, but they step in and do it. So it's only happened twice, I think. So I just think they're trying to make an initiative of being more accountable. Other than that, I have no idea what else they talked about.
Are you glad to see them hold each other accountable, take that off of, them take ownership of that role?
I think that's what makes great teams. Teams that are player-driven as opposed to coach-driven are the best teams. So I think our leadership is trying to stand up, and we've challenged our leaders, especially the ones that are playing, to, they've got to have leadership out there, show leadership, be leaders. And I saw, Nicklin, I thought this week, last two matches has really stepped up in that area, and Kenzie Knuckles has, and so we need that.
How much has the consistent lineup kind of helped with, you mentioned a couple of times in the past couple of weeks about players looking over their shoulder. How much has that changed this week with getting a consistent lineup?
I don't know. You have to ask them how they feel about it. So it's, we're still, we still got to play a lot better than we're playing. So I look at these teams and stats, and we got to continue to get better every week.
Are you sleeping better? Because you said that those lineup changes were keeping you up at night.
I always sleep good.
What do you think's contributed to the conference as a whole getting better from top to bottom?
COVID year, everybody's got all their players back, and I just think college volleyball is getting more and more balanced. I mean, you look at Mississippi State knocking off Florida. Whoever would have thought that? As one example, there's been several. There's a lot of close matches, and I just think college volleyball is getting very, very competitive. There's a lot, and I've noticed this in recruiting. There used to be just a few good players everybody was recruiting. Now there are a lot of good players that everybody is recruiting, and they're just the depth and the quality of volleyball. I think it's the most popular girls' sport in America now, second in the world, and there's just a lot of really good volleyball players.
Have you watched what Kayla's been able to do at Ole Miss? I think they're 12-0. They knocked off Western Kentucky a couple weeks ago. And that kind of getting good coaches like her out in the head coaching rank to build up those programs out.
Yeah, I mean last year I don't think they won a match. I think they lost every match 15-13 in the fifth, or a bunch of them. And, now she's been able to instill her culture there and build confidence and, get some of her recruits in there. I think they got a couple transfers. So that's another thing. The transfer portal, just like all the sports, is you can get good fast with a couple transfers. So it's a combination of all those things, and it allows those teams to be successful. But yeah, I mean, Mississippi State knocks off Florida. Mississippi's undefeated. Yeah, I mean, when's the last time that happened at this point of the year?
Hey, John, you said that the goal this week is to go from good to great. What needs to happen specifically to that?
We have to be more disciplined. We've got to kill the ball better, hit for a higher percentage. We need to, there's some little plays that we're letting points kind of just sneak away from us that we shouldn't. Great teams don't do that, and so it's just a combination of those things, and playing with more confidence.
Louisville match, you said that you were a little bit concerned heading into Big Ten play. Do you feel a little bit better after you guys have 2 wins on your belt?
No.
Why?
I just said we got to get better. Yeah. Well, you got to come watch video. I'll show you.
Specifically, Lindsay and Allie, how are they adjusting to college defenses?
Those guys, you know, I think they're doing a pretty good job. You know, where they need to be better is like in blocking. You know, the speed and the hitters they're going against, you know, are new for them. So just that's one area. Continuing to be able to serve tough, and but I think both those guys have, you know, are doing a nice job for freshmen.
Are there areas you think you made progress last week?
No.
Anything else?
Well, compared to Louisville, yeah, but no, we got a ways to go. I'm still. The message is going to be is we have not arrived yet today in practice.
John, is Lawrence Difference getting close to playing?
It's a great question. You know, she's going to be in normal practice this week, so she was in. Of course, we played Wednesday, so it wasn't a true normal week. So I think we'll see how it goes. You know, she's not playing until she says she feels confident. So that's between her and the trainer. But she will be in practice this week, and we'll see how that goes.
John, did you see that 46-44 set Washington?
Yeah, I just saw the last point of it. So yeah, that's nuts.
What's the longest one that you've played in? Do you remember?
We were in a 30. I'm trying to remember who it was against. We were in a 36, 34, 38, 36 1 year. I remember. Yeah.
46-44.
Yeah. That's two in-state rivalries that hate each other. It's amazing what that motivation will do.
Right.
Two of the teams coming back this weekend are the 2000, 2001, your first two at Nebraska. I mean, what do you remember looking back about those years? What kind of big memories first pop up in your mind about those teams?
Oh, wow, that was a long time ago. I just know that that 2000 team, you know, they're here all the time. They're very, very close. They all come back here and hang out. They vacation together. They have babies the same weeks. It's crazy how connected they are. And the 2001 team was pretty much a lot of those players minus 3 seniors, and we incorporated Nancy Metcalf back into it. And that was a great team. You know, so hard to win national championships, but we got beat by Logan Tom, who had just come back from the Olympics the year before, and you know, it was a phenomenal performance by her. One of the best college volleyball performances I've ever seen, you know, that knocked us out. So that team was a great team. But, yeah, those teams they had everything, you know. So, and it's cool to see how they've stayed connected.
Anything else?
Okay, thanks, guys.
Jojo, when you went back and watched the film that second half, I mean, after the game, you said you wish you would have taken the ball away or something like that, but where does that rank in terms of, since you've been here, how you've seen the defensive unit play in a game?
Yeah, we played well, and that's what we expect to do. We want to get the ball out more. Critical field goal that we blocked at the end of the half. You know, we need the ball to bounce our way, and we have to put ourselves in the right positions for the ball to do that.
How hard is it when you're playing so well and the other two units have their struggles? How hard is it not to finger point?
That's a great question. That's the name of the game. Like, it's easy to create a scapegoat for the result of that game and say it was that player or it was that play, when ultimately there's hundreds of plays, thousands of moments throughout a game that either are for you or against you. So I think as a collective unit, if we can just realize that it's all of us and that we cumulatively lost that game together and not point out guys, we'll be in better shape, come together as a team. This game, you know, is testing our will to fight, and I'm excited to see how this pans out next Saturday. But this adversity is tough, and it's what you live for.
Broadly speaking, are there certain mistakes, whether that's offense, defense, special teams, that are easier to correct in season or harder to correct in season than you guys go?
I'm sorry. Can you say again?
When you talk about correcting mistakes, are there certain mistakes that are harder to correct in season like you guys are now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know how to answer that question. It's you gotta be able to adjust to what they're doing. And we learn technique, we learn the scheme all off season. So when in season comes, every defense and every offense has a asset and liability. So you just have to first understand what you're supposed to do and how it's supposed to work, and then you have to understand how can you get beat and what can they do to stop us. So it's a holistic understanding of the system. It is hard to correct those things in season per se.
Jojo, is there someone on that defense that when you watch the film, you're like, man, they're really playing at a high level? Maybe they don't get as much, notoriety, but they jump out to you?
Yeah. I mean, watching the film yesterday, Garrett Nelson played an amazing game. And everything he's doing in practice is translating over on Saturday. So really proud of him and excited for what we're getting out of him. And, I mean, how we dominated the box is how it needs to be, and that's got to be the standard. And those guys are plenty talented enough. They plenty want it enough. It's just doing it. And just like when you face adversity, when things aren't going your way, let's say we're losing in the box, like we got to be able to have the will to come back and win the next play, win the next quarter, so on.
Could you tell with Garrett, he kind of came on at the end of last year, could you see this sort of progressing that we're sort of what he has been?
Yeah. The will to be great is burning within his chest, and he's a team guy. He's not a me guy, and even when it comes to picking up stuff in the locker room after practice, like Garrett's that guy. So seeing him playing with him his true freshman year to last year to this year, like he's taken tremendous strides just mentally in the game. Coach Dawson coaches the heck out of him and gets the most out of him. So bright future for that kid.
On the fourth down stop early in the game when Thorne kept it, was that something that you had seen before or what? I guess what went into making that play?
I have the quarterback. I am the edge blitzer. I have the quarterback. So when it's bang bang like that, you want to be able to make both plays. But I have to trust that the rest of the guys are doing their job, and I have to stay home for the quarterback. I could have stayed even more home. You know, I got his ankle and wrapped and rolled, but I could have body shotted him too. So, but yeah, I needed to stay home and make that play.
Shenander talks a lot about that, making the plays and years to make and understanding that. How much progress, I guess, over the last couple of years have you made in that regard in the defense?
Yeah, I think I've taken huge strides in that. Like, I used to just think about, I don't even know what I was thinking about my sophomore year. It was just a ferry out there trying to do my job, also try to be around the ball, and not trusting that, like, by doing my job, I'll find the ball and the ball will find me. So.
Hey, Jojo, you guys play Northwestern on Saturday. Obviously, it's been a crazy series in history. What do you remember about some of these games against Northwestern and how back and forth they've been?
They're close every time. It's a dogfight. It's who plays more disciplined and who plays more physical is usually who wins. So it's going to test our mental toughness this week after everything that we've been through to go ahead, put that behind us, learn from it, be better from it, and then to go against an opponent like this. That's going to make sure, that's going to demand mental toughness out of us. It's going to be a great test.
You made a play too near the goal line that probably prevented a touchdown. I think you came and got I believe it was a running back from behind when he had a pretty clear lane. I don't know if you remember that specific play. Were you coming? Was that your assignment too, or was that a play where you went extra and came off of your assignment?
Nope, that's my assignment. Getting off blocks and tackling the ball carrier.
I mean, I don't think it was the quarterback, so I didn't know if you were on him that play.
Yeah, no, they flipped him, and then we were ready for that play all week. So.
Hey, Jojo, you said that this game will test your will to fight. Did you get the sense that this will be a big challenge to get the guys up and ready to fight again?
It's a challenge for all of us. I mean, it's just a challenge.
But no more so this week than any other week, or is it more so this week because of what happened these last Saturday and the Saturday prior?
Yeah, it's just a challenge. It's a challenge. Obviously, based off of our past experiences, like, we have to move forward in some way, shape, or form. So it's crazy because all, like, the little mistakes throughout the game, like, if we would have won that game, we would have shrugged it off. But because you lose, like, every single mistake you look at critically, and you're like, how can I get better? That if I would have done this differently, would the result have been different? So we have to be hard on ourselves, but also we need to give ourselves grace. Like, we're human. We play this game. You win or lose. We have to move forward regardless. So we might as well move forward with our best foot forward and with a good attitude and a growth mindset.
George, how much does it affect the defense when the offense is possessing the balls in a game this year?
Yeah, it helps a lot. Definitely helps a lot. Third down conversions help a lot. So those guys, I've seen them come on. They do it in practice. It somehow translates to the game. Crazy how that works. So good to see that. Adrian, so proud of that kid, and we're going to continue to take strides on that side of the ball. I trust those leaders and our coaches. We're bound. We're going to keep getting better.
You notice that in the fourth quarter when you're seeing maybe your 70th snap as opposed to your 95th or whatever it might be on defense?
Yeah, you feel it. You're not really thinking about it, but you feel it.
Who do you watch on Sundays when you have a chance to watch a game after you've done all your work for Nebraska? Who do you like to watch as a player?
Usually, in rehab and then watching film with Shenander, and then trying to get away from football. But even like on my downtime at the house, like I just watch what's on Sunday Night Football usually.
Is there a player that you admire that you?
Tyrann Mathieu, big time Honey Badger guy.
It seemed like the team came out of the Oklahoma game energized and brought that to practice the next week. Did you see that this morning? Same type of attitude?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. We were out there. And it just felt like we came into work this morning like with a lot of books in our backpack, just kind of weighing us down, and just had to empty the backpack, Just restart, reset. It's a new week, new game, new opponent. Like, everything we do leads to this result. Can't let one game affect two.
All right, thank you, JoJo. All right, questions?
Hey Nick, big game against Michigan State. I think the defensive line played really well. As a guy playing right behind those guys, what's it like to play with the D line in front of you is so well?
Yeah, those guys have done just an amazing job all year, and Saturday they just went above and beyond like they usually do. Whenever we're doing like inside backers and linebackers are playing well, it's always a reflection that they're doing the dirty work, and they might not always get the stats and the tackles, but they're really the true piece of it, you know what I mean? It always starts up front.
What's it like in practice when a guy like Damian Daniels does something very well that might not show up on the stat sheet? What do you guys tell him after that?
Oh, it gets us fired up. Just keep encouraging him and stuff, and he knows it too. Like, he loves it. Like, he just such a great player and so great at embracing his role. Like, he obviously makes a lot of plays too, but when he's not making plays, he's eating double teams, and he never gets moved off the ball, so it's really nice, yeah.
Barrett Root on the radio said last week that he feels like you and Luke and some of the other inside guys are starting to pick up some of his habits, like the way that he kind of structures his day, and even use the word pristine. What does that look like for you guys, and what does he mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, with him, a routine is something he always talks about, and that's something we've really took pride in, and just having a routine, like every week's the same, every day's the same. We do this, and nothing changes no matter if you're feeling good or bad. Like, you always got to stick to the routine no matter what and keep getting better.
Affected your game positively?
Yeah, it helps a lot because when you build a routine, he also talks about stacking days a lot. So when you build a routine, it's really easy and useful to stack days.
Hey Nick, how do you balance team losses with your side of the ball is playing quite well? I mean, how do you kind of put that together?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's always you always look in the mirror and see like what you can control. We're not here to point fingers or anything like that. So it's at the end of the day, it's about winning and losing. So we didn't do everything we could do as a defense, and we got to keep improving as well to keep getting better week by week.
Nick, do you have an example of Garrett Nelson's passion for the game, his fire to be just a kind of something that like you watched him do and like as intense?
Yeah, I mean, from the first day, we early enrolleed, he was my roommate together, and the first day it was like we moved in, I think it was a Friday night or Saturday or whatever, and it was like 9 o'clock at night or something like that. We were just like, parents were just leaving and stuff, and he's like, "Hey, you want to go lift?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, what do you mean? I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, let's go do it." So we tried to go in the weight room and couldn't get in. We were young freshmen. We didn't know what was going on really. We just thought we'd had access. But yeah, I mean, that's Garrett's as a football guy as you can get. So he loves the game, and his passion is something that rubs off on everyone.
That little recruiting class you guys had, the in-state guys, I think there were 5 of you in that 2019 class, and then Luke came in as a walk-on. How well have you guys kind of stayed together as a group, and you've all had success to some degree. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I love those guys so much. So I think we've had a bond since we've even in recruiting and stuff, just in high school and stuff. I think we're all really similar, like-minded guys, so it's just super easy to get along and go to work with those guys every day.
What do you know about Northwestern and kind of what they've shown so far?
Yeah, I mean, every year they're a super disciplined team. They're going to have good skill players, good O-line, so it's going to be about knowing our fits and continuing to improve as a defense and play gap sound.
How many quarterbacks do you have to prepare for?
As many as we need to.
they have one guy that he kind of is a runner. I mean,
Yeah.
he's sort of that's pretty much all he does. Is it hard to split up? Maybe this guy's going to stand in the pocket and this guy's going to run.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's always about us, but we're definitely going to have some keys and tells about what quarterback's in the game.
Good. Okay, thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Questions for Ty?
Ty, the run defense was pretty dang good again on Saturday. Just what are your thoughts on how that unit did, and I guess looking forward to another team that's going to try to run it pretty good next week.
Yeah, I'm proud of the defense and the way we played on Saturday. I mean, we knew going into it that number 9 was the top leading rusher in the nation, so we knew that if we could stop him, we'd stop their offense pretty good, and so we did that. I think we held them to around 50 yards or so the whole game, and then second half we held them to 15 yards total. So that's really good in our book, but it wasn't good enough to get us a win. So we'll just have to come back this week and really focus on the little key details again.
How important is it that you guys stack performances now and put another performance out like last week?
It's huge. I mean, the more we stack, the more confidence we're going to build. I think it's going to start flowing over to the whole team to kind of that mentality that we got, our little swagger we got to ourselves as we start to stack, saying like, look, we can do it. You guys can too. You just got to hop on the train with us a little bit. So
When you watch back the film from the weekend, did you come away feeling more encouraged, less encouraged, maybe from what you felt coming off the game immediately?
yeah, whenever I watch film, I'm really hard on myself. I'm probably my hardest critic. I mean, I notice the little things that most people don't. You know, I got all my family saying you played great when I know that it was kind of an performance, right? So getting into it, we went over the film this morning, and I feel like there was a lot more good plays and fix-it plays going over the film with Coach T, which was a good thing. But like I said, get back to it this week. That game's over with, and we're moving on.
What are some of those little things you're talking about?
For me personally, I mean, I'm really starting to work on my get off. I'm trying to beat every person off the ball before they can even get their hands on me. Quicker hands, just be more violent, more aggressive, be more chaotic, cause more disruption. And then obviously my pass rush, it's been a big focus for me. It still is, and it still needs to get worked on and get better.
You guys will be home for 4 of the next 5 games. I mean, how important is it that you find some momentum in this stretch? We're going to be in Memorial Stadium quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great to have our fans. I mean, wherever we go, we're still going to have a pretty big crowd following us to every game. But, I mean, being at home, being in Memorial Stadiums, a lot more fun. I mean, you get to play in front of your fans from people that come all across the state that get to come watch one game. So I really feel like it brings the energy that lacks sometimes.
A couple of your previous teammates were talking about Garrett Nelson and just how well he's playing. What does he just bring? I mean, just not only the plays he makes, but sort of his attitude, all that stuff combined.
Yeah, he's a dude. He's a dude. I love playing with him. I mean, when we're out there, we have a great time. We're talking back and forth, communicating. We're both on the same level, really locked in together. And then the plays he's just making, I mean, are huge. He's helped us out a lot. He's been making really big plays and really big stops as well. So I'm really proud of him and what he's done and accomplished so far.
When you have back-to-back weeks where you play pretty well as a unit, and it's against 2 very different style offenses, Oklahoma and Michigan State, how much confidence does that give you in terms of the next plan for the next team, even though they might not look exactly like what you've seen before?
Like I said before, it's a nameless, faceless opponent, whoever's going to be in front of us. Our defense has got the same mentality. We're going to go out there and we're going to get your money's worth, right? So whoever's going to be, if it's Alabama in front of us or if it's somebody else, we're still going to play the same way. We're not scared. We're going to do the same thing that we've been doing.
Ty, JoJo was talking about how collectively as a team, you guys have to focus on how that was a team loss. It wasn't because of one thing. It wasn't because of one unit. It wasn't because of special teams. How do you guys as a defense, kind of grapple with that and knowing that you played as well as you did in the second half especially?
Yeah, we're all a team. I mean, there's no individuals on our team. You know, if one person does good, we all do good. You know, sometimes it doesn't fall the way you want it to, but you pick those guys up and you try to bring them alongside of you for the next week, so you guys can show the true potential that we have. I mean, we're so close, and I'm really tired of hearing that we're so close because, I mean, we can do it, we can get it done. I mean, in my opinion, we should be a 5-0 team right now, but it's just the little things that matter that aren't really being focused on by the guys. So I think we're going to really start honing in on that and getting that done.
Is that easier said than done, not to look at a specific area when you can kind of see who's struggling and who's not?
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I mean, you've got to hold dudes accountable in practice and when they play. I mean, in the game, too, if they're not getting the job done, then they're letting not just themselves down and not they're just a group down, but they're letting everyone down because, I mean, we're all trying to win a game no matter what, so.
Talk about fixing mistakes. How easy is that to do kind of midstream, middle of the season? You got class and maybe, you know, it's physically the fatigue's there a little bit. How easy is it or difficult to fix some of that stuff?
I mean, it's pretty difficult. I mean, I'm going through it right now. I mean, I'm in class. I'm in a couple classes right now that really take my time away from football, but you kind of learn to balance it back and forth. Usually I don't leave the stadium on the weekdays. The only time I get to go home is at the end of the night or on the weekend. So that's the type of commitment I have to it. I don't know about other guys, but I see it a lot more from dudes that are staying here, getting that extra work, going up, watching film, getting treatment if they need to get it, whatever it is.
Anything else for time? All good? All right. Thank you. Questions?
Matt, when you watched the O-line in particular, watched the film back, what sort of your, I guess, summation of it? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we just made too many mistakes. It's issues that we've had before this season, you know, just somebody making a mistake on a play, and it takes all 5 of us. It takes all 11 of us on offense, you know. So the biggest thing for us is just continuing to clean those things up. I mean, there's a lot of football left to be played, and we're going to keep showing up and going to work, and just got to keep trusting our coaches and trusting what we're doing, and we're just going to keep doing that.
Is the way you go about cleaning that up different in the middle of the season than it would be if you had a camp to work on things and things like that?
I think it's different now that some of these issues have been recurring for us. There's some different drills and different things we incorporated into practice today. Just, you know, you can't do the same things and expect a different outcome. So we're trying whatever we can to get this thing right. And I'm happy how our group responded today. I think we had a good practice, and I think the competition in this room is as high as it's ever been. And I'm excited about guys pushing me and pushing other guys. And like I said, we're just going to keep showing back up day by day and just keep getting better. That's all we can do.
Can you share an example of something that was different that maybe guys responded well to today?
I think the big thing is just us continuing to come together. I mean, it's easy now in the season when, you know, especially as an O-line, we haven't been performing as we need to be. The team dividing, people coming after us for different things. I'm happy with the way the guys responded. I think from offensive side, obviously I was down there all day. I think we were just dialed in today, and we're on to Northwestern, so we're getting this game plan dialed in as best we can, and we're just going to keep showing up and keep working.
A lot of defensive lines have twisted and stunted against you this year, and that happens across football, obviously. But what are the keys to handling that well? Like, if you're good at handling those sort of games up front, what are the offensive linemen? Yeah,
the keys are just, first of all, get your footwork, get your feet in the ground, get your pads back. Biggest thing is just getting your eyes right on a play. Something we've really been emphasizing, specifically, last week against Oklahoma when we knew the movement was going to be, a lot more than we had seen previous. It's just getting your hands on people, getting your hips underneath it and being able to see your work. I think that's the biggest thing. So that's something we've been emphasizing and something that we'll continue to emphasize. There's definitely a balance between, specifically in like our play action, things like that, trying to fire off, sell the run and things like that, but we got to be able to use our feet and use our hands effectively, and your eyes kind of lead all of that.
Hey Matt, how much of a focus on improvement that's needed do you see as position specific, whether it's tackles working on edge rushers, interior guys working on a push, versus all five of you being together working on the same thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously, we're coming in here, we're working our techniques every day. Like I said, today we even incorporated some different drills, trying to stack these drills, trying to get the looks as close to the game as we can so that we're getting as prepared as possible. But a huge point you had there is like us five got to continue to come together, and whether that means getting in the film room, watching extra film and game prep, like I said, we got to do something different to have a different outcome. So we're pushing each other, we're finding new ways to get it done, but ultimately it's just about us preparing as best as we can, improving our processes to get prepared, and then showing up on Saturday and being ready to play. So that's a good question. Thank you.
Do you have an example of a drill that you guys did that helped make it look easier?
Yeah, I think something that we are really emphasizing and start stacking today is we just got to be able to move guys up front more than we have so far this year. So there was a lot of emphasis today on just being able to strike, hit movement, and be able to just move guys off their spot. Because ultimately that's what we got to do. We got to reestablish the line of scrimmage, and it takes all five of us. So we're really emphasizing that today, and I think it's something we're going to be continuing to emphasize all week since, Northwestern's a pretty stout front. So it's definitely something we're going to keep working on.
Have you noticed Coach Frost being more kind of involved with you guys during games and stuff?
Yeah, Coach Frost is, obviously he's the head coach, and he's got to address the issues and who's not performing on the team, and that's been us as an offensive line offensively. So Coach Frost's voice has been continuing to he's continuing to take a bigger role in coaching us as an O-line along with Coach Austin, and trying to emphasize some of the points that he wants to make. So that was apparent today in practice. Coach Frost was with us with the O-line, working to get us right. And so he's definitely taking a bigger voice with us and trying to get us to where we need to be.
What's Coach Austin been like? Because, he played here, he wants bad too. What's his message to you? Have you seen him? You guys have worked, trying to go through for solutions together.
Yeah, the biggest thing for Coach Austin is we are who we are, and we're not going to change our values as a O-line, as a university. We got to get back to the O-line leading this offense, plain and simple. And I think Coach Austin is a guy that shows up consistently with that sense of urgency and that message of what we got to do. And I think, as an O-line, we need to continue to rally around him because I think he's a great coach. And I think his consistency of his consistent messaging to us, but also finding new ways to incorporate new drills we need to improve in areas that we need to improve. I think he does a good job of balancing that, and I think he's here to support us and get us to where we need to be. And I appreciate him just showing up to work just like we did today.
Anything else from Matt? All right,
Thanks everybody, appreciate it.
All right, question?
How'd the guys come back today, Adrian?
Really solid day of practice. We know we needed to bounce back and have a really good Monday and start stacking days again, and that's what we did today. I'm proud and excited about the way these guys responded today.
What more did you learn from watching back the game?
Yeah, some missed opportunities, obviously. Some plays I wish I had back, things that we addressed post-game there, but those things are getting fixed. I can't turn over the ball and make critical errors. Made a couple that game.
You guys have gotten better within games as the game goes on. Second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. The starts have been rough. Why do you guys get better as the game goes on? But B, what can you guys do to start a little fast?
Yeah, that's something we're figuring out and something that needs to be fixed, as you pointed out. Need to start faster, need to help out our defense sooner and maybe play ahead in the game, you know what I mean? So something we're figuring out and need to find a way to get those guys going early and get us all going in the right direction.
When you look at the third and fourth quarter of that Michigan State game, you guys moved the ball pretty consistently until right at the end. What did you guys get going in that second half that wasn't necessarily available in the first quarter?
Yeah, it's hard to point to what exactly, but we were moving the ball in the run game. We were hitting the passes we wanted to, and we were chunking. We had some big plays that got the drive rolling. And we obviously dominated the time of possession. And a lot of those things in there are keys for us, and something we maybe need to key in on in the first half.
Adrian, Matt Sickerman's in here saying he thought the offensive line made too many mistakes on Saturday. You obviously typically have sort of a special relationship with the line. What do you tell those guys, and what do you think the key for them is going forward to play more consistently?
Yeah, well, I have faith in those guys. I do. They're studs. We got all the talent we need in that room. We have a great coach in Greg Austin, and those guys are going to get right. Part of that isn't all their fault. You know what I mean? There's some plays I need to make, some reads I need to do better. And it's a process, and we're growing as a team and as a unit.
Coach Frost has taken more of a role with the linemen. We've seen it on the sideline at games. Sichterman said it happened at practice today. What about you? How much communication do you have with those guys that we don't see? What is that relationship like, if you can expand on it?
Yeah, well, as far as game day, it's got to be constant, right? So it's as simple as sitting next to them on the sideline when we come off and just having that line of communication open. What are you seeing in pass protection? What are you seeing when we're run blocking? Spreading that communication to the running backs and making sure that everyone's on the same page. In practice, we're constantly pushing each other. And that's just about holding each other accountable and making sure we're on the same page with all those things I alluded to earlier.
Hearing you talk about dominating time of possession, how have you seen that kind of evolve in this offense? Years where you guys are, maybe being more intentional with drives, you have fewer possessions, but maybe longer time with the ball.
Yeah, well, it's definitely changed over my time here, and I think that's just a part of our evolution, part of the evolution of our team, our offense, and it's about getting better, and I really feel confident in what we are right now and what we're doing. We're going to keep building on that, and I believe our team's confident in sort of that style, if you will.
Northwestern, one of those teams that, no matter what's on the resume previously, you sort of know you got to prepare for a four-quarter fight type of game.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Northwestern's going to come to play, and they're going to be a team that's really well coached. They're not going to make mistakes. They know what they're doing. They're going to do their homework, so we have to be ready. We have to go out there and win the game. They're not going to give it to us.
This is your fourth time going against them. Do you feel like you have a good feel on Fitzgerald and
Yeah, I don't know if a great feel is the right word, but I am confident in what we're probably going to see out there this week. And they're going to be a really well-coached team. Like I said, they're gritty. They've been every time I've played them, and they've played us really hard. It's been a good game every time. They're disciplined and got to be ready to go.
I know the 4-minute offense and stuff maybe at the end wasn't what you wanted. You wanted to stall out the clock with the lead. But the drive before, when you did take the lead, was that a best example sort of what it could be? As far as, wearing on a team and what you did there?
Yeah, 100%. That possession is what we strive to do, run game, pass game, some explosive plays, and really controlling the pace, controlling what we want to do, and maybe mix in a tempo here or there. I think that's when we're at our most dynamic, and we need to continue to build on that and do it more often.
What are your thoughts on Vermeer and the job he's done the last 2 games?
Yeah, he's an absolute stud. I love Vermeer, and the guy's been nails. He's battled his way to being where he's at now. That's not where he started at, and he didn't give in, didn't give up, and I know guys didn't hear him complain about it. Kept working, and now, he's getting a lot of carries, and I think it's well-deserved.
There's not really a special teams captain, so I have to think the captains on the rest of the team are the guys that kind of talk to maybe a punter or a kicker. Did you happen to have any words for Daniel after the game?
Yeah, all that type of stuff I want to keep in house naturally, but we're a team, and I know he feels really, he takes that stuff to heart. Obviously, there's a lot of responsibility there, but it's a team game, and there are a lot of other plays in this game that would have changed the outcome as well. So he knows that, and we're going to continue to build those guys up, and we need to be better as a whole.
Anything else for Adrian? All good? set.
Questions, guys?
Coach, do you plan to make any shakeups on the offensive line this week or any different position groups like that?
We're going to look at it. There's some guys that I know have the ability to play better than what we've been playing at a few positions. So competition's always open, and we're going to give some other people a real shot.
Who would be some of those guys like in that group? I mean, I'd like to see get a shot.
Overall, I think we need to play better there. If we'd gotten good play there, we'd be in a completely different spot. I think this year, special teams as well. It's kind of been a little bit here and a little bit there, but we got to find a left guard, and we got to play a little better at right tackle, and those are probably a couple of the spots we'll look at. But it's open competition everywhere.
You've got young guys at both tackle spots. I know Bryce played quite a bit last year. So how do you walk that balance? I mean, you're in the middle of the Big Ten slate now of wanting those guys to learn and develop on the fly, and then also understanding sort of where the line is about.
There's just got to be expectations, and when expectations aren't met, I wouldn't say consequences, but there's going to be competition and opportunity for other people, and that doesn't mean we crumple anybody up and throw them away. This is a team thing. Had a long talk with the team this morning, and I feel really bad for the guys that are doing so many things right and playing at such a high level, and a couple little pieces and a couple decisions are costing us, and it probably cost us 2 or 3 games this year. I talked to him about, I essentially got benched for part of a game my senior year, and things worked out pretty well. And I benched Adrian last year when he wasn't playing well enough, and he's playing at a elite level right now with some of the things he's doing. So that happens, that's life. And if those guys bounce back, a couple of them, that they're going to be fine. But you have two choices when something like that happens, and I hope they pick the right choice. And I think overall it's going to make us better as a unit.
Scott, what did you learn? You mentioned you got benched senior year. What did you learn from that experience?
I played with a chip on my shoulder the rest of my career, and overall I think we're a tough team physically. We got to be a tougher team mentally. It doesn't take any physical toughness to stay set and wait for a snap count. It doesn't take any physical toughness to let go of a quarterback when the whistle blows. Those are the things that we have to make the right decision in the moment. And I think overall we're playing with a nasty attitude at a lot of positions. We need to find that nasty attitude at a couple others. And shaking things up or giving other guys opportunities hopefully will lead to that.
Are there any areas you personally put more time into, be it O-line or special teams as a head coach if they're struggling?
Yeah, I try to be around all the guys, but if we have one area that's struggling, it needs my attention, I'm going to spend more time there. So I was in a couple meetings today, this morning. Special teams meeting was tough. It was rough, but it was honest. Coach Doss did a great job. I think he got their attention. He's had their attention all year, but I think he really got their attention this morning. And I want to see guys respond. We're so close, and getting this over the hump is going to take a complete team deal, and we're all in this together. So if my attention's needed somewhere else, that's where it'll be.
I think the last year at UCF, you guys averaged about 10 points each first quarter. I mean, you scored that every time. You scored 10 total in 5 games. Why do you think you guys have struggled to start well offensively?
Just talking about this year, I don't remember all the games. Talking about this year, you can't start a drive off with a quick pass and get sacked and things like that. We drive down the field and get a couple false starts. Those things kill drives. And when you're in one-score game, one more score on any of those drives matters. And I still this is a different league than UCF. Comparing this to that is apples and oranges. I've coached in a couple of leagues where there's 60 to 50 games, and that's not the Big Ten. The Big Ten, you're going to win 23-20 and 31-24 and 17-6, and possessions matter, and you can't waste them.
It's a similar line of thinking. Do you like the way the game is shaped up for you from a management perspective the last 2 weeks with starting the second half with a chance to take the lead and then controlling the clock in the second half.
Yeah, I did, and we had a chance to score again on the first drive of the third quarter to score a touchdown. Didn't finish it. I thought the guys really responded to the message at halftime. That was elite defense that we played in the second half, 15 yards in the second half, and I didn't even cross my mind that we're going to give up a punt return here. I was upset that we didn't get a first down and keep the clock moving. We should have. Should have executed a little better on a second down play. And you look up, and despite the guys doing everything right for a half of football and dominating a half of football, you get that momentum swing and take another gut punch. And that's why every single guy on the team has to, and coaches, all have to take accountability for things and do their job when they're called upon to do their job.
You talked on Saturday night about just needing to punt the ball where it's supposed to go. You don't see a lot of the double return in that. So how much attention do you have to pay to the guy on the other side if the plan is to kick it?
No, he shouldn't even been a factor in the play. No, we got to pay attention where the ball goes, but people do that when you have potential for rugby punt, and the punt could go anywhere, and to try to get it fielded and not let it roll. But 7-yard punts don't roll very far, and punts that miss their mark by 35 yards, we didn't have anybody over there. So, but there's 30 plays that would have won that game for us, and we can point at a few of those, and that was obviously not good. But there's other areas we can get better too.
Did you get a sense of whether Cerny mishit it or he misunderstood exactly where it was supposed to go?
No, I think he just mishit it.
Have you guys ever looked at doing 2 punt returners back there to ensure the ball gets fielded? I know you've had some trouble last few weeks just getting balls fielded.
Yeah, when we talked about that again this week, we've done it in the past with this coaching staff. Most of the time we've done it when there's been threat of rugby and they kick it all over the field. I don't think that's the issue right now. If that's a strategy we want to go with, it can be, but we just need somebody that's going to run up and catch a ball, run back, catch a ball, field a kickoff return. I had a decision to make on the penalty after their touchdown, whether to make them kick a long extra point or try to get the field position, and decided to take the field position. Then we fumbled the kick return and started on the 19. And that hidden yardage stuff will kill you in a game. And guys heard about it again this morning. Practiced well. But there's been some situations where we practiced well and then we go out and we don't do it on the field, and that's what we need to get figured out.
Your defense has taken a step forward each year that you guys have been here as a staff. What is it that you've seen, currently in a half like that either you're seeing for the first time or is sort of the next step that the group has taken?
No, I just think it's been constant improvement over there. Coach Chins and the guys have been doing great. The guys play together. They understand their responsibilities. They use each other, and they got good players. So that's been steady improvement. I think, probably slowing it down a little bit on offense has helped them too. So we're not leaving them out there as much, and that's helped the defense. But we got to execute better offensively if that's the way we're going to operate a little more. So it's a team thing on defense. It's a team thing overall.
What is it about Northwestern that they always play you guys close anytime you meet?
Well, every game in this league is close, it seems like. Everybody's so even in this league, and that's why little things matter so much. But this is a exceptionally well-coached, disciplined, intelligent team that doesn't beat itself, and you're going to be in close games with a team like that.
What's the challenge of fixing mistakes in season, whether it's personnel shakeup or whatever it might be, as opposed to doing it in camp or in the spring? What's unique about the challenge?
What's unique is it seems like every week a new problem arrives. You fix one and work on one and spend a lot of time on one, and something you haven't even anticipated comes up. Week 1 we didn't field punts very well on punt return, and then go down to Oklahoma and miss kicks, and then work a bunch on that, and then don't punt it well the next week. And sometimes you can anticipate, sometimes you have to react, and we'll do our best to anticipate. But if there's problems that come up, we're gonna give them a lot of attention.
Northwestern lost a lot of guys from that team a year ago. How do they look different? What have you seen different from this team from what you saw?
They look the same. You know, they had some pretty good players. They still do. They lost some special guys. I think it's a team that probably started the year inexperienced, and you can see their improvement already through the course of this year, from game one to the game they just played. So he'll get these guys right, and they're always going to have a really good team.
A couple of night games here, back to back coming up. What kind of opportunity is there to showcase some things, and how important is that for you guys right now?
We just need to get back on the field and win. That's what we need to do. I don't care if the game's at 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon. We're so close. You know, we've been a bad team that won a few games and a pretty good team that won some and lost some. Right now we're a good team that's lost some games. And we got to get over that hurdle, and the more opportunities we get, the better. So I love this team. I love being around them every day, and can't wait for them to get another chance.
Well, your linebackers, the inside and the outside guys just playing together, maybe that whole front seven.
Yeah, and to be honest, Sam, most of them are young, so that group's really grown together. That's really what we need the offensive line to do. That's still a young group, but those guys are going to grow together, and not just 5 of them. There's 10 of them. I just need that to speed up a little bit right now. I've been really pleased with the way the front seven's played, back end too, and that group's playing together really well.
What do you feel like they're doing, those linebackers in particular, well, that maybe they didn't do a couple of years ago?
It's such a fine line in football. If you're really comfortable with what your assignment and what you're supposed to do and you have the right attitude, you can just play fast and you can go make the plays. Those guys, I think, are really secure in their scheme and where they're supposed to be, and they're flying around and having fun playing.
On the night game thing, I meant more having the chance to bring some kids in. And does that give you an opportunity to do that, to potentially get a boost in recruiting because you have more time?
Yeah, Memorial Statement at night is special. I say this a bunch. We're going to have a small recruiting class this year, and so we won't have as many visitors all year as we normally do, but we're going to have some young kids and 23s and some other people that are going to be important to us at these games, and I need to put on a good show for them.
What are the primary issues right now that's keeping the offensive line from playing to its potential?
I want to see more of an attitude, more of a nasty. Right now, we talk all the time about playing with a desire to excel and no fear of failure, and you can talk that all you want, but I want to see them come off the ball and rip it and strike people and run and create some seams for the running backs to go through. Right now, I'd rather have a miss doing that than get on guys and not move anybody. I don't want to see running backs take the ball and have a wall of people in front of them. We need some crease runs. That's going to open a lot of things up. And we got to protect better. I think some of that was technique on Saturday. We're going to help them out some other ways, but generating a little more consistent run by being more aggressive and playing with good technique and protection. And we got maybe the most athletic quarterback in the country, and he still got sacked 7 times. So there's a lot to fix there, and Coach G's working hard, and so am I.
Are there any other return man options you could explore that? I remember in camp, like Sean Beckton mentioned, like Camonte Grimes or some of these young guys. There's some guys.
Guys are getting reps. Guys are getting reps all the time. When guys are ready that are young, we're going to use them. We started with Cam. Samari wasn't even really turning punts at the beginning of the year. Cam and Oliver were going to be the guys, and Oliver's been hurt, and we stopped using Cam. And kick returner Xavier was going to be our guy, and he went out at halftime. And getting some consistency back there is going to help. Just like consistency anywhere, and getting more reps is going to help.
What did you think? I know it was only one series, but you've gotten Logan in a couple games. At the end of games, let him run some offense. What did you think about him sort of stepping into the fire there?
I thought he did great. We moved the ball right down the field, got it to the 40, and jumped off sides twice. So it would have been great to see us get points there. And again, in these games, points in any of those drives wins the game. And I thought he did a good job.
What do you see from Logan demeanor-wise? It looks like he's ready.
He's been ready every time he's gotten a chance this year, absolutely.
about Oliver Martin. I mean, what's the timeline there? I mean, you hopeful that maybe you get back to this game this week?
Yeah, he's close.
Is Xavier gonna miss?
He's close.
Scott, I don't think you got Teddy in, on Saturday. Is he one of the guys that you potentially could be looking at?
Hey, all hands on deck. Teddy's got a chance to compete for it just like anybody else, and there's a lot of guys that are really good athletes. Zach did an unbelievable job with that group and the whole group in the off season. We got big, strong guys that can run, and we got to play better.
You've referred to Adrian a couple times as playing outstanding. You could point to two things where he's really grown this season. What would those be?
He's taking better care of the football and making good decisions, and he's bailed us out. I don't know how many pressures we had Saturday. It was way too many, and he bails us out on a lot of things, makes great throws downfield, can run, can throw. His toughness, he went in to get x-rays on his jaw and came back out and played the way he did. Says a lot about who he is, and he's got good people around him. Running backs are running hard, and receivers are doing a good job, and tight ends are playing really well, and we got to give him a little more time to throw. And he's missed a couple easy ones, but you know, if he had time to sit back there and really pick people apart, he'd have even better games than he's having now. So we got a little better in front of him.
Anything else for Coach?
Does it surprise you that the offensive line is the thing that Nebraska was known for a long time? That it feels like it's the thing that we constantly talk about?
Yeah, and I don't want to beat these guys down. You know, this is the same group that we finished the year with last year and played really well. So I don't know what it is right now, but I got faith in these guys. They got to pick it up. They didn't play well enough Saturday, and we still should have won the game. Didn't play well enough, and we had a bunch of yards and more opportunities. So we're gonna keep working with them, but we got good players with good talent, and we gotta get more out of them.
Okay. All right.